What would you think if I told you that one of the most popular and acclaimed mechanics among Pokémon fans, Mega Evolution, is also one of the darkest and most sinister concepts we have seen in the Pokémon saga? So, in today's video, we are going to talk not only about the origin and explanation of the Mega Evolution method, but also about how, strangely enough, in this region of Kalos, we were able in a very subtle way, though in plain sight, to have one of the darkest and most depressing stories we have ever seen, all connected to one of the most painful and cruel mechanics for the lives of the Pokémons themselves. So, before we begin with this video, please hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and most importantly, enjoy today's video. To understand all of these, we need to give some context, so let's start at the beginning. The first trace of Mega Evolution occurred nearly 3,000 years ago. In order for all of us to fully understand the great importance of these mechanics, we must assume that the Mega Stones are just ordinary evolutionary stones, but that they will be altered by being irradiated by the beam that was fired from the ultimate weapon. In case some of you are a little lost, in the history of Pokémon X and Y, we will find a rather illustrious character, AZ, and don't let his appearance fool you. Despite his weak appearance, AZ will not stop being an ancient king of the Kalos region, who will live in his own flesh the confrontation with one of the neighboring regions, causing a famous war that will change the history of Pokémon forever. This character was also accompanied by his dear friend Floette, who would eventually lose her life in this war that devastated the Kalos region. AZ will design a machine to bring his dear friend Floette back to life. It should be noted that this machine will harness the power of two legendary Pokémon, Xerneas, associated with life, and eventual, associated with death. Thanks to the power of both, the experiment was a success, bringing his friend Floette back to life, thus becoming the Eternal Floette, and having, in my opinion and criteria, one of the most curious and intelligent designs that we have seen in a long time, since it will acquire the shades of Xerneas and eventual, Floette being the living image of life and death. Although this joy did not last long, since AZ, totally poisoned by rage and the desire for revenge, would modify his machine to turn it into the ultimate weapon, being, ironically, this moment the origin of the Mega Evolution. Now that we have completed this war-related context, it is crucial to consider this event, because the activation of the ultimate weapon will send out a very powerful beam that will even travel outside of our planet. When it returned with even greater force and hit the ground, it will not only end the Kalos war and the lives of all the fighting Pokémon, but that same beam would have radiated its energy into various evolutionary stones, transforming them into Mega Stones. And if all that drama were not enough, apparently this beam could have collided with some kind of crystal meteorite from outer space. All this taken with a pinch of salt, because for the Mega Evolution to exist, we have to talk about the sundial that we will find in any star city. A very strange artifact in which the sun's rays, bouncing off the crystal at a certain time of day, will reveal the position of the various Mega Stones. In fact, the only official information we have about this artifact is that this sundial of the city of Anistar fell from outer space. The relationship it has with all the Mega Stones and its power to reveal where they are, I think is evidence that the beam from the ultimate weapon itself would have impacted this crystal, which would apparently have an appearance very similar to the Ansi, who was the only unique Pokémon capable of Mega Evolution up until that point. Curious to say the least. As for official information, we can say that the ultimate weapon's beam would have also affected various places in the Pokémon world, such as the Hoenn region, with the meteor shower and the introduction of Mega Evolution in the remakes, Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, where these Mega Stones could suddenly appear and where the supposed origin of the Mega Evolution will take a very different path. One of the most interesting debates about the origin of Mega Evolution has always centered on the question of what was the first Pokémon to Mega Evolve. In the Pokémon X and Y games themselves, we were told that a Lucario, once accompanied by its faithful trainer, was the first to find a bond strong enough to develop this Mega Evolution. Connections that we were able to find either with Riley and his Lucario or in the Mystery of Mew movie itself, with the Lucario connected to the very old trainer, Sir Aaron, who would certainly have a strong relationship, challenging the fame of the first Mega Evolution with Rayquaza himself, since if we travel to the Hoenn region, as we commented before, it can be interpreted that these meteorites loaded with the power of the ultimate weapon not only caused the meteor falls, but supposedly created the city of Zootopolis itself, being the most significant impact, and that thanks to Rayquaza's contribution, the world was once again saved. So it is no coincidence that the Eternal Flower of Floette is in the city of Zootopolis, as a reference to the fact that it was where the power of the ultimate weapon was felt. To qualify this small point, according to the Draconid people, of which Zinnia was a disciple, in the Delta episode of Pokémon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, it will tell us how Rayquaza would have saved the planet in various occasions, as this one was able to Mega Evolve, not just with the link to a trainer, but because the Draconids themselves and all the people of the Hoenn region worshipped Rayquaza and asked for his favors to save the world. Rayquaza could have been the first creature to Mega Evolve thanks to his connection with the people. This is extremely important because Rayquaza is the only Pokémon that can Mega Evolve without interacting with a Mega Stone, only knowing the Dragon Ascent move, so we could see the origin of Mega Evolution in one of these two events. I also want to make it clear that the Primal Groudon and Kyogre themselves would not count as Mega Evolutions canonically, even though they are practically the same, but their mechanics would actually be thanks to the connection with nature, absorbing a primordial force and becoming much more powerful, though obviously not as powerful as a Mega Rayquaza. Which brings me to what I think is the main point of today's video, the obscure origins of Mega Evolution and the creation of this mechanic. As we've explained, if it weren't for the Kalos War and King AZ's poor decision making, the Mega Evolution themselves wouldn't exist. If it weren't for the killing of hundreds and thousands of Pokémon that would have participated in that war, since AZ was indirectly the creator of them. But if you think that all the Dantesque and Dark ends here, nothing could be further from the truth. This has only just begun. As I mentioned earlier, Mega Evolution would be an unnatural evolution, breaking the very limits of natural evolution, as we can see in the Pokémon world's own ecosystem with a maximum of 3 evolutionary stages. Thanks to this artificial power, various species will be able to break through these limits, not only gaining great power and Mega Evolving, but also causing them terrible pain that will bring them to the limit of their lives. To get into this very dark topic, I want you to leave me your favorite Mega Evolution in the comments box below, because I am pretty sure that even these Mega Evolutions suffered greatly by following these mechanics. To give us all a better understanding, let's start with the case of Gyarados. According to his own description, Mega Evolution will make him grumpier than ever, causing him great pain at the brain level and completely shutting down his functions when he Mega Evolved. In the case of Houndoom, Mega Houndoom will cause this creature to generate so much heat that it will completely burn itself, causing excruciating pain. Other cases, such as Mega Garchomp or Mega Tyranitar, where their bodies will become frighteningly large, covered in spikes, and various completely unnatural limbs, will become much more destructive suffering such pain that they will not even be able to listen to their trainer's commands. In the case of Mega Glalie, an energy explosion will break its jaw when it Mega Evolved, or even the aforementioned hypothetical first Mega Evolved Pokemon, Mega Lucario, would have its fighting instincts awakened, turning it into a truly cruel creature that will show no mercy to any of its opponents. And I could go on like this until I mention absolutely all the Mega Evolutions. All of this is to show that the Mega Evolution will have a really dark past and present in relation to the Pokemon world, either because its creation is related to or the moral dilemma that I would love to see in a Pokemon game again, like we did see in the Black and White games, of whether it is really ethical and moral to capture Pokemon and force them to fight. It wouldn't seem silly to me to at least mention it or comment on it in the Pokemon Legends ZA game, because not only is capturing your Pokemon and forcing them to fight cruel, but artificially pushing the limits of evolution to turn them into killing machines, causing them irreparable damage, would make Mega Evolution one of the darkest and cruelest mechanics to exist in the Pokemon sagas. With that, I conclude my explanation of Mega Evolution and its origins. I'm sure I left out a lot of nuances and small details that I could have added, so I invite you to leave me a comment below with any occurrences and thoughts you have about it, and if you like this kind of videos a little more serious and touching on the more adult and dark side of the Pokemon saga, I will greatly appreciate if you smash the like button on this video and subscribe. Right now on the screen, I am also going to recommend you several videos that I'm sure you're gonna love. See you again in the next video about the Pokemon world.